Hi, welcome to this video. We're going to go through how to get results with influencers. I want to give you 5 ways that you can leverage online communities. My name's David Drinkle and I help run GoodFunnySmart, which is specifically an agency helping to represent influencers, to connect them with both brands and agencies. And we're constantly trying to help people know what works and what doesn't when they work with our influencers. So I thought I'd make this quick video and hopefully just get a whole lot of those into 10 to 12 minutes if possible. The very first tip I want to give you is social promotion. Now, you know a lot obviously about all of these 5 things that I'm going to mention, but I want to tell you what we've found works really well with social only promotions. One of the things that you probably have used before in this area are influencers doing a shout out for a particular brand or product. Now, this is where they'll just post a social post onto their communities, however big they are, and obviously hope to get some engagement going around your message or your topic or your brand. This works really well for some things and not so well for others. So the types of things that it works brilliantly for are for where you want to do an awareness campaign. You want people to be aware of a brand or a product. It might be a new product to market. It might be something that just needs more people to know it exists. That awareness, branding level promotion is really good in this space. Sales work brilliantly. So when there's an offer or a discount, when you've got 30% off all white goods or whatever, and you just want more people to know it. In my opinion, this is far better than a letterbox drop. This is getting the message out. Events, it works brilliantly for. So selling tickets, things where there's an immediate action. They can click a link and go and buy a ticket to that event or a launch of a new product or event. Links where you've got to get people to go somewhere, it's very excellent for that. So if you've got a great resource that you're giving away or a great resource that people can access, people will click the link in that social shout out and go and get it. It's really great for gathering feedback from a community. So you might want real authentic answers to some kind of question, a survey, or some kind of how is your brand perceived in the marketplace. And that is exactly where social only campaigns work brilliantly. The next level is sponsored content. So this is where you might get a long form piece of content created by an influencer and then promoted to their audience. So this, once again, is excellent for positioning a brand, for tying particular emotions with your brand, having people think positively about engaging with you and your company or your brand. Excellent for storytelling because you might have 600 to 800 words for somebody to really delve into telling you a story about their experience with your product or with your service, how it was when this influencer went and created something through your product. You can explain your product really well. You can get a review done of your product or explain how your new service works in great detail and really sell it and give some context to that information for the listeners in that community. So that works brilliantly. Launching something new to market, once again, sponsored content is possibly the way to go. And that's largely because of the asterisks at the bottom there. You're going to get at least probably a 12-month potential exposure. A lot of the traffic's going to come initially when it's promoted to the community, but through SEO and all sorts of other ways, as traffic continues to come into those communities and those websites, you should be able to continue to get exposure. If you're talking about changing perception, understanding, changing people's behavior, then really the long-form content does a much, much better job of that, even though numerically, less people will read it than just see a social post, maybe by 20 times less. But those people who do read it are much more likely to take action, much more likely to change their behavior, and you really are, once again, more confident that you're getting to the right people because they've chosen to click a link, they've chosen to engage in long-form content and get all the way through that content, hopefully. The third thing is video, which is obviously huge. In my opinion, it's next level to text and images. In most cases, you can give demonstrations, detailed, show a lot of details about how something works. You can show people around what an experience would look like. They're much more likely to engage in that experience if they've literally seen it happen with somebody else. If they've seen someone go hot air ballooning, they've seen all the steps, then they're much more likely to go ahead and do that, I think. Now, obviously, you can do that through text and images, but video, I think, is next level engagement. It's very memorable, or can be very memorable, and very shareable. So obviously a lot of the content shared on social media, especially through our communities, is the video content, and people are likely to click on it. There's a lot of autoplay videos which don't count for a lot in most cases, but the people who do watch the video all the way through to the end, or even halfway through, are getting a really great amount of message, if you like. So quick tips about working with the influencers when no matter which of these kind of 3 channels that you choose. My key tip would be to collaborate with the influencers. If I just had to say one thing to agencies and brands, it is that influencers know their people. That's in fact their job, is to know their community. If they've built a huge community of 300,000 or 400,000 followers, you can guarantee that they know those people and they know what works with those people, because that's not an accident. It's extremely difficult to build a community and a following like that, and you can only do it if you know what resonates with your followers. So having them involved from the start does mean more customization per influencer, but if you co-create from the start, from the concept stage, plan with them, plan the timings. They'll know when people are online, they'll know what tags work and don't work, how much branding is appropriate for their community, and more likely to elicit a positive response from their community. You need to come with an open mind on that sort of thing, and at least be collaborative and designed together. Sometimes they'll suggest preparing the soil. So they'll suggest that we need to ask this question on our social media before we go ahead and post this content. Or we need to, they'll be able to give a strategy of how it may well play out the best from their experience. Natural, authentic posts perform the best. So they should also be able to give you ideas on how to make that fit. So obviously we normally come with a particular message or a particular piece of some core messages that we want distributed to the community, but they will be able to best inform us how to present those to get the best result. My other tip when you're working with influencers is to be very upfront about how you're going to measure the results. And often this is where it gets a bit grey and people don't always know exactly what they want. They want engagement, but when you want to know what engagement, that's where it sometimes gets a bit fuzzy. So the brand may not know that, they may not have thought that through clearly. The more upfront that you can have your measurement before you begin, clearly that makes it easier for the influencer to hit the target, and it also means that you'll know when they have. For example, we always promote strongly that we should only be measuring real results. So if you have an Australian brand that you're representing, you clearly are only interested, or 95% of your interest is in how many Australians viewed it. You don't care if someone has 1 million Instagram followers who are mostly in the US or Egypt or wherever. You want to know how many Australians are going to see that traffic. We can obviously have our individual tracking links if it's a particular web action that you want to see happen, but that's not always the goal. Clearly, yeah, definitely go for a unique tracking link if you are tracking any kind of click or any kind of traffic outcome. And then build on that success. So once you have your measurement and you can make clear measurements, build on it long term with particular influencers. So if somebody's working, you might work with 3 or 4 influencers, which then gives you the information at the end of that campaign to decide who do we keep working with. And build a partnership with that influencer. Engage them 3 or 4 times over a year, and build on a message over a period of time so that the audience gets used to hearing about that particular message and attack it from different angles with the same influencer. It's been shown to show excellent results in my experience. Educate your team and clients. So when you do get a great result, share it around. Tell people what worked and what didn't work. Share your stories inside your team, because it's definitely a new area. Not everyone knows how to get the most out of working with their influencers, and every time you learn something, you can educate the people around you to do a better job next time, so that we can create, hopefully, a synergistic situation where our communities are getting more comfortable with hearing paid content, hearing from sponsors basically, and agencies and brands are getting much more savvy at how to make that connection authentically. Everybody wins if that happens. So they're my quick tips. Once again, I'm David Drinkle from GoodFunnySmart. We represent 6 influencers at the moment with around about 1.7 million Facebook followers, for example, almost 100,000 Instagram followers, and 670,000 monthly unique users on these various community websites. If there's anything we can do to help, please chat to us, and I hope that's been a helpful use of a few minutes. Let's stay in touch.